If this individual doesn't care, does that mean he can repeat?
And today we're taking a look at 10 infamous true crime stories that found closure after years of mystery.
This surveillance video shows the UBC student acting strangely the night she went missing. Once again, the LAPD saying the body has just been...
Brittany Drexel.
Myrtle Beach is a hot spot when it comes to spring breaks and vacations. 17-year-old Brittany Drexel, one of the millions to come here to enjoy the weather. That was more than 13 years ago.
In 2009, 17-year-old Brittany Drexel vanished while on spring break in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Surveillance showed her leaving a hotel, then absolutely nothing else. She also had been texting with her boyfriend, but around 9:15 p.m., Drexel stopped responding. With no leads, the case went cold, haunting investigators and the public alike. For years, rumors swirled of trafficking, abduction, even gang involvement. But in 2022, a stunning breakthrough emerged. Raymond Moody, a convicted sex offender, confessed to abducting, assaulting, and murdering Drexel back in 2009, then burying her remains in a wooded area. He led police directly to her remains, finally bringing an end to a 13-year mystery.
That vehicle right there. We had proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Brittany Drexel was in that vehicle at this time. Driving that vehicle is Raymond Moody.
The body in the drum.
But this home, in a quiet, upscale neighborhood in suburban New York, held something more. In a steel drum, stored in a crawl space, was a secret that someone had hoped would last a lifetime.
On September 2nd, 1999, a horrifying discovery was made. Inside the crawl space of a New York house was a 55-gallon drum, and inside the drum were the mummified remains of a pregnant woman. Police traced the drum to a company called Melrose Plastics, which was co-owned by the owner of the house, Howard Elkins. An address book was also found in the barrel, leading police to Reina Marroquin, an employee at the factory who had been missing since 1969. Police interviewed Elkins, and he was uncooperative. He then took his own life shortly after questioning. Investigators then confirmed that the fetus inside Marroquin was the biological child of Elkins, and he likely murdered her after she told his wife of their affair.
A message possibly from Reina herself to Howard Elkins. It said, "Don't be mad. I told the truth."
Adrienne Shelley.
He writes me these spontaneous poems.
Spontaneous poems?
Yes, they are poems that just occur to him right on the spot. Last night he said to me, "Dawn, your face is a brilliant moon in my empty room. Your love is like a beating drum. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum."
An accomplished actress and filmmaker, Adrienne Shelley is perhaps best known for writing, directing, and starring in the 2007 film Waitress. But the movie was released posthumously. On November 1st, 2006, Shelley was found dead in her Manhattan office. The scene strongly suggested that Shelley had taken her own life, and it was officially ruled as such. But her husband, Andy Ostroy, was unconvinced and begged police to investigate further. So they did, finding a boot print that matched the construction site downstairs. The crime was traced to a worker named Diego Pilco, who had followed Shelley back to her office and killed her in a failed robbery. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison and will be deported to Ecuador upon his release.
There you are.
Dawn, if I had a penny for everything I loved about you, I would have many pennies.
Elisa Lam.
The body of a Canadian woman who was missing in LA has now been found. Elisa Lam disappeared 3 weeks ago.
Yesterday, her body was found inside a water tank on top of the hotel where she had been staying.
This story was made into way more than it was. After Elisa Lam was reported missing, surveillance footage was released showing Lam behaving oddly inside an elevator of the Cecil Hotel. Many speculated that she was hiding from someone or experiencing a supernatural encounter, as the Cecil is purported to be haunted. A few days later, Lam's body was discovered in the rooftop water tank. The creepy story captivated the internet, but things slowly fell into place. It later became apparent that Lam was not taking her bipolar medication, that the hotel rooftop was accessible via a fire escape, and that the tank lid was left open. Therefore, it's highly likely that Lam suffered a manic episode and climbed into the tank herself.
She was traveling all by herself, arrived in Los Angeles. She was in Skid Row, no less. That was a stressor for her, probably. And then she wasn't taking her medications properly. It probably amplified the risk of her essentially having this manic episode.
The McStay family murders.
In your gut, what do you think happened?
I have absolutely no clue.
Back in February of 2010, the McStay family was officially declared missing. They were not in contact with any family members, and when Joseph McStay's brother climbed into their Fallbrook house, he found it empty. There was no sign of foul play, and the family's dogs were still alive in the backyard. 3 long years elapsed with no further word until November 11, 2013, when a motorcyclist found the buried remains of the McStay family in the Mojave Desert. It was just one mystery after another. That is, until the arrest of one Charles Merritt. Merritt was a business associate of Joseph McStay, and investigators found that he murdered Joseph and his family in order to steal money from his business account.
Now he sees a very different Chase Merritt.
To me, it looked like a broken man. He knew he was done.
BTK.
And it shows here that was last saved by Dennis. So somehow a Dennis who was affiliated with the church or the library was somehow involved with this document.
Some serial killers are brought down thanks to clever police work, and some are brought down through sheer hubris. BTK terrorized the greater Wichita area between 1974 and 1991, murdering at least 10 individuals and taunting the police with threatening letters. Despite their best efforts, police were unable to identify BTK, and the case remained a mystery for decades. But in 2004, BTK once again started corresponding with the media and police, taunting them with decades-old murder cases. He ultimately sent a floppy disk to the Wichita station KSAS-TV, and police used metadata from the disk to trace its sender. And with this, Dennis Rader was caught and identified as BTK. He was arrested in 2005, 31 years after murdering his first victim.
On the table before them, the computer disk traced back to Rader.
Anyway, you can get out the DNA, right?
You can't get out your DNA unless you've had a total blood transfer and lost every organ. It's there.
He knew that DNA was, he had studied enough that he knew that that was going to be it.
The Long Island serial killer. It was one of the most absorbing mysteries of the early 21st century. Who killed all those women in New York? The Long Island serial killer murdered at least 11 victims since the early 1990s and disposed of most of their bodies throughout the Gilgo Beach area.
4 of them now officially listed as victims of this serial killer that's been dubbed the Long Island Ripper.
The killings remained a mystery until the summer of 2023, when a 59-year-old architect named Rex Andrew Hewerman was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder.
This is the man police have taken into custody.
DNA has officially linked Hewerman to many of the victims. He's been charged with 6 of the murders and is currently pleading not guilty.
His court-appointed attorney entering a not guilty plea on his behalf.
The death of Junlin.
His mother still worried about him living in a big foreign city, so he'd walk the streets with his cell phone and stream images back to her. His message to her in their daily conversations was always the same. Don't worry, he told her, I'm safe.
One of the most notorious videos in the history of the internet was uploaded on May 25, 2012. Titled One Lunatic, One Ice Pick, it depicts an Asian male getting killed and dismembered by an unidentified figure.
So you could see that clearly the murder happened on the bed.
Various body parts were then sent to schools and federal offices across Canada, and these remains were linked to the man who was killed in the video. The case made international headlines and remained a mystery for several days. But investigators quickly traced the grisly homicide to a man named Luca Magnotta, who had already fled the country. An international manhunt ensued, and Magnotta was finally captured in Berlin on June 4th, about a week and a half after uploading the infamous video.
Luca Magnotta, who's been the focus of an international manhunt since fleeing Canada last week, was arrested by police at an internet
He will eventually face Canada's justice system. He's expected to go before a judge tomorrow.
The Golden State Killer. One of the most notorious criminals in American history, the Golden State Killer has gone by many names. He terrorized California throughout the 70s and 80s, sexually assaulting at least 51 women, burglarizing over 100 homes, and murdering 13 people. He was given different names in different areas, including the Visalia Ransacker and the Night Stalker. Only with time did it become apparent that these crime sprees were the work of one person. The name Golden State Killer was coined in 2013 by crime writer Michelle McNamara. The case helped inspire the creation of California's DNA database. And it was DNA evidence that eventually nabbed Joseph James D'Angelo in 2018, who by then was 72 years old. He was sentenced to life in prison.
I think we all had come to terms that we would never see justice in this case. Neither one of them in any way, shape, or form should have ever died.
Finally cracked. The story of the Zodiac Killer continues to intrigue owing to his elusive nature and the bizarre ciphers he produced. The Zodiac made 4 of these cryptograms, and before 2020, only 1 had been solved. The first was quickly cracked back in 1969, but for the next several decades, the remaining 3 continued to stump even the most professional codebreakers. That is, until December 2020, when another cipher was solved by private citizens. Dubbed Z340, the puzzle was originally sent on November 8, 1969, and references the Zodiac's welcoming of death.
It reads in part, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me.
He claims that his new life will be an easy one in paradise, and that he is not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send him to paradise all the sooner.
There are still 2 remaining ciphers from